Hi, I'm Mina Malik Hussain and you're watching The Coffee Table. Have you ever had a dream, the kind of dream that you make lots of money and you're also your own boss? You don't have to work for anybody but yourself. And this is an amazing dream. And lots of millennials and lots of young people and lots of older people seem to be really getting on board with this idea. So we thought that today on the show, we would talk about entrepreneurship and how to get your dreams started, how to sort of get that job show on the road. So joining us today are Nabeel Qadeer, who you've probably seen on TV, who does his own desi version of Shark Tank called $1 Million Idea, more or less. And we've got Madiha Saail, who is a pharmacist by day and a jewelry designer by night. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you very,
great
very
having
much.
you guys here.
Pleasure to be here.
Super, because I'm not a business-minded person, so I'm very curious now as to all the things that you guys do. So Nabeel, tell me, you started Plan 9, which is an entrepreneurship incubator.
Yes.
That's the correct term?
That's an incubator. It's
So what does an incubator do?
Well, incubators have been around since the 1960s, if you talk about the US. But in Pakistan, entrepreneurs never really had a place where they could just sit and not pay for rent or not worry about basic errands that stop an entrepreneur from growing. And as an entrepreneur, I'm talking about someone who does a small business, has limited resources. So what incubators basically do is they take away all the nonsenses, all the problems. They say there's a place, there's generator, there's air conditioning, there's a desk, there are computers. Just come here, build your product, and go sell, and not worry about minor problems.
So you take care of the logistics of it. You give it sort of a physical infrastructure.
Very much so. Not just the physical infrastructure.
Right.
Some of the incubators who perform better, and when I say perform better, we can talk about that later, but it's primarily the kind of services they provide, which includes, most importantly, the mentorship, the network, because an entrepreneur on the street or somewhere, somebody working from his or her house does not have access to industry CEOs or marketing experts or people who understand business. So what an incubator does is it becomes this epicenter where everybody meets up. So this culture never existed until 2011, 2012.
Oh, that's quite specific.
So it wasn't there. So I was in a role with the government of Punjab then, and the project that was given to me to establish and run was Plan 9, and that kind of became the first incubator that everybody saw. Now we have over 30 plus incubators across the country.
Wow, because I find that really interesting because business used to be seen as this elite thing that you only could break into if you had the right kind of connections, or you were born into a certain family, if you had contacts. So the incubator is really like a democratization of business, for small businesses.
Well, it's an incentive for people to go ahead and do things. But as we speak in this program, because I've been associated to this industry now, the entrepreneurship industry, for a while, I have seen how very able startups and founders have come out from their own houses, and they never needed incubators. But what incubators did do, though, is that it was fancy. It was yellow and red.
My clothes.
Let me put it this way: bean bags and hey, free coffee. And,
very sort of like googly kind of, Silicon Valley startup feel.
Yes, it was a kind of wannabe Silicon Valley kind of thing that started with incubators. We did it at Plan 9, then many people did it better than us. And ever since then, the startups have found a new avenue. I mean, a common kid, when he or she comes out, I want to share this with you if you have time, that the first time I went to speak, I remember it was NUST, where they invited me to speak about
entrepreneurship and what does it mean. So just for our audience, very quickly, tell us what is an entrepreneur, because it's a very fancy sounding word.
Yeah, it's a difficult word. So an entrepreneur is a small business owner. if I can put it this
and
way.
And how do you define small?
Small means someone who does not have the resources. Someone who does not have, hey, I've come with $50 million of investment, and now I'm going to set up this enterprise, and then I'm going to sell this. Well, the person does not really have a lot of money. The person will raise money. So the entrepreneurship game is, if you're good, you'll raise money. You'll raise capital from whom? Investors. That's how the equation balances. Entrepreneur, investor, and in the middle are the mentors. So incubators connect them. That's how this culture took off. What it has done, though, is that, and I was giving you an example of my first talk. 2 people attended that talk.
Dear.
I went all the way from Lahore to Islamabad, and because no one knew me then.
Maybe they just didn't understand the whole sort of idea of why would you want to do this in the first place.
So after making me wait at the gates for 5 hours, almost 4 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody left, and I was passed through the security protocols. So 2 people sat there, and I had to tell about entrepreneurship.
To these 2 people. I'm sure they must have been very committed to finding out about entrepreneurship.
Yes. So it was that time. What I'm trying to say is that a kid coming out of university then, or college, would know, I'm going to come out, I'm going to graduate, I'm going to get a job, I'll have a salary.
Exactly. That's the general kind of
perception.
Career trajectory that seems to be safe and desired.
So what you can say is that because of these incubators and co-working spaces and venture capital funds, which I'll talk about if you'd like me to talk about them later, this mindset has changed in children, that from a very young age, they're thinking of ideas. They don't worry about the resources. They worry about the idea. And really, that pretty much is the thing.
That's really cool. That's so liberating in many ways. And Madiha, you are a pharmacist.
Yes.
So that gives you a great deal of freedom in the day to practice.
Yeah.
So, like I know that pharmacists are people who sort of put medicines, you develop medicines and you make medicines.
Yeah, there's a lot of types of pharmacists, right? So I work in a pharmaceutical industry.
Okay.
It's a family concern. So by birth, I was supposed to be a pharmacist.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you were the classic born into the business person who kind of had that existing framework.
Of course, but having said that, we had to go through the whole education process of becoming a PharmD, getting a degree, getting specialized in one of the fields like quality assurance or whatever. I'm part of the quality assurance at the company. So the thing is, it's still a dry field. And, I always say that I was born with a scientist's mind, but an artist's heart. So basically, my heart was not being fed. It wasn't being nourished in that way. I wasn't creative. But the thing is that creativity stops at the color of the tablet or the shape of the tablet or like the packing design at a pharmaceutical, because we have limitations and we have laws that we have to follow, right? So that's when I started off. I got married and I started off with Project Rich, and I kind of started off with just my pocket money, like whatever I saved from my job.
So this is your entrepreneurial spirit now, is that you didn't have an investor.
No, I did not.
And you didn't have an incubator.
No, I did not.
And you just had yourself.
But I did have a platform. See, my mother was in the fashion industry.
Right.
She was doing menswear for a really long time. So I actually knew a lot of people. Like he said, you have to have either connections or resources or a background. So I had a design background. I knew the right people. So it really helped me get out there. But for people who are not into all of this stuff, it's very, very hard. And that's where these incubators come in, and they kind of train you on how to run your business.
Yeah, and do you feel like, did you have a mentor? Sort of, because again, jewelry design is quite specific, and you don't have don't technically have an
I used to say that, I'm untrained, and, I didn't do a degree in fashion or in jewelry, but now the new term is that I'm self-taught.
Oh, nice.
So, I'm self-taught.
That counts.
And I learned from experience, and of course, I'm still learning. I might still go for a course or a diploma or something, because you should always know the science behind your product.
Yes.
That's the only way to sell it.
And I find it really fascinating that a lot of creative people in Pakistan are self-taught.
They are.
A lot of people didn't do
because there's a lot of talent, and that's another reason why these incubators are amazing for the younger generation, because they have have amazing ideas, but they don't know how to sell their ideas, how to develop their products. I mean, the idea has to materialize in order to generate, an income or, have a running business and, whatever the purpose of that person is, entrepreneurship or earning money or fame or whatever. In any case, they need a platform. So, I really appreciate all these incubators who have popped up, and I've seen people with just an idea, like making it really big.
And it's really just an idea. Everything has started from just an idea, an idea in a garage. And now it's Apple now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so fascinating.
Yeah, and Pakistanis did not have that opportunity before. Like, it's not like we didn't give birth to any inventors. All our inventors go abroad to invent.
Because there's a space there, and there's a sort of atmosphere, there's an environment there which fosters a spirit of innovation.
Exactly.
And just creativity.
But if I may add to that, it's really not just incubators. It's primarily, incubators produce startups in large numbers. Hardly a few, and I can count them on fingertips in the past 6 to 7 years that I've seen making it big. And when I say making it big, we hardly make it big. And as far as Pakistan is concerned right now, we're a very small player in the big ecosystem, in the ecosystem globally. But if you talk about making it big, it's like having impact in terms of sales or hiring people, job creation. We've hardly made such companies. And when, in my humble experience of working with about 1,500 odd startups now.
Just 1,500. It's very small. It's a humble experience.
And let's not put them as startups. Let's put them as founders. So
what's the difference?
A big difference. A startup is 80% its founder, and I'm saying this to you with the full authority because all that I've learned from different ecosystems in the world, having had the good fortune of spending some time in the Valley, learning from the ecosystem in Canada, in United Kingdom, in the Middle East, there's one or two, there are certain common things, common denominators. Number one, an investor, when he or she looks at a startup, they're more interested in understanding the background, the person behind it, the human.
The person behind
the founder,
idea.
The founder. So it's the investment is actually 50 to 60% just knowing the founder and liking him.
So somebody is sort of literally investing in you.
In you. So that's how you've put it perfectly, because it's all about investing in you first and then the product. Product can change, and it does change.
It does.
You try doing different things, and there's so many iterations to bringing it to that one best thing that works. So great founders, good founders, great is a big word, but good founders are those who are willing to change, yet they know where they're going. So it's
change, but it's also vision and direction.
Yes, direction, I'd say, yes. Vision develops over the years, but direction, yes. You need to know. I mean, she's perfectly put it aptly that what is it that you're trying to achieve? Are you trying to make money? So if you're trying to make money, then there's a path to follow. Are you trying to build a brand that's bigger than your own brand? You are bigger than your own brand? Then it's a different trajectory altogether. But those people and those founders, if you read about them, who've made great companies, who've had impact, had hired thousands of people, they've always put the brand first. They've always put the company first. Despite being the driving force, despite knowing everything about the company, they put themselves behind that brand, and that's how great companies happen. So it's not just about the incubators. It's not. These are helping measures in the ecosystem, but frankly, it is really about those two kids with that dream in a garage. If they have the passion, if they have the right motivation, and if they keep themselves focused. I always say there are three things that matter.
Okay, but we're just going to take a quick break now because I want to keep some suspense here. The three things that matter. Yes. Nabeel is going to tell you the three things that matter if you really want to make it big. So we're going to take a quick break and come back. Suspense. Hi, welcome back to the coffee table. As promised, we have kept you in suspense this whole time because Nabeel is going to tell us three things that you need to have in order to succeed. Three attributes founders must have to make it big in the world. Tell us, Nabeel.
Okay.
Madiha and I also holding our breath.
We're like, what's the secret?
Madiha wants to know.
I never thought I'll get this moment on TV. to do this, but let's do this. So it's not attributes. It's just something that I was going to say about the way you structure your life. I'm looking at my audience, I'm assuming, and you.
Yes, we are your audience also.
So for founders, or for that matter, all kinds of people who've inspired me, and when I've had a chance to meet with them or have read about them, there are three things that they've done in life really well. So they've reflected very well.
Okay, so reflection.
Reflection, and which leads to focus. Because what reflection does is it lets you know your priorities. Yeah. Once you know your priorities, you can focus on the 2 or 3 important things that matter. Once you've got that focus right, you know where to execute. So the last part is execution, actually going out and doing it.
Yeah. So it's reflection, focus and execution.
And then repeat.
Oh.
And then this is a continuous process.
The repetition is very important.
The repetition is very important, and that's what leads you ultimately to success as you define it.
And the repetition is the real commitment then to sort of keep at it.
Yes.
So Madiha, you are somebody who's on the ground doing this loop. So you had your reflective process, which was to think about a creative outlet and how you wanted to just kind of branch out. And you're obviously very talented.
Thank you.
You know, to see her work, it's it's really good. It's really good. You're like, what? A pharmacist made this?
Yeah, people say that they're like, pharmacy and then jewelry, and I'm like, if you want drugs or jewelry, I'm your girl.
So like glamorous Panadols. And you execute, and then how did you bring focus then? Because you have kids, you have a day job, and then you're doing Project Rich, and I often sort of see you burning the midnight oil, doing your sketches. So
So the thing is, the thing with Project Rich was it started out as not only my creative outlet, but also something that benefits Pakistan. I'm highly patriotic, okay? So I went to this market where they make jewelry, and I saw that people were out of jobs, there was no electricity, people were just sitting on their, and you said it. And they were really desperate for work, and I feel like there's so much potential in them, the craftsmen. So I'm very emotionally attached to Pakistan and its crafts. That's how, so my policy was everything has to be made in Pakistan.
Right.
Everything has to be original. I want to give jobs to people here with the crafts so that the crafts don't die. So that was kind of my reflection included that. And also I wanted to earn money. I wanted my brand to be built. I wanted Project Rich to be famous.
Get in there.
So I started innovating. I started off with home decor. That's something you don't know. So I went into accessories and candle stands and stuff. And then I just added jewelry, but then the jewelry did
that's really interesting.
with the numbers. So I kind of switched to jewelry. So that's how jewelry
became the focus.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Before that, I only liked to wear jewelry. Yes.
Okay, so then the jewelry became the focus actually, inadvertently. That's really interesting. You didn't set out to do it, but then it happened. And then your execution is you manufacture in Pakistan. You draw every design yourself.
Most of it.
That's really intense.
So the thing is,
then you go to
I had to separate two things. Like people in Pakistan associate jewelry with weddings and traditional and age-old designs and everything. So I kind of have those things as well. I kind of put a practical twist to it and make them a little trendier, and then it's the same thousands of years old designs. But then there's the other aspect to my business, which is customization. So that's my forte. That's what I do. I design, I make things for the client, like, calligraphies, whatever they want, a logo, whatever.
And I feel like those are really modern looking as well, because you do cufflinks and you do lapel pins.
So I started accessories for men. I do cufflinks, tie pins. There's something called a cuff clip. Something like, you fold your cuffs and then you put a clip on top. So there's
cool.
I kind of kept
I don't even have cufflinks.
Well, I need to get you cufflinks then.
Indeed.
So that's how it started. It started off with a friend wanting a gift for her husband. So I drew, his name and we made cufflinks. So having that opportunity to create something and then, actually draw something and then make it into a piece of jewelry.
Execute
That
it.
was the fun part of it, and I really enjoyed it. I still do. So people keep telling me to hire somebody to do just the drawings, and I'm like, no, I don't want to give this up. This is my baby. I don't want to stop. So I kind of handed over everything else to my husband, who kind of joined my business because I could not handle it on my own.
Of course.
He's an MBA, so I was like, excuse me, I need your expertise.
You've got
I don't
skills.
like to do the other stuff. You do it. I just want the artistic part.
Yeah.
So it started off with like a one-man show, one-woman show, but now it's like a family-owned business, you may say.
This is. Let me add something here. That I do a television show myself, and that has given me the exposure to meet with entrepreneurs from all 4 provinces.
And you guys find entrepreneurs with innovative ideas, and you pick the best one.
And you put them in front of investors.
Yeah.
So people who have the money, we will have the ideas. We match make them. We bring them together on TV, like they fight, they argue, they discuss ideas, and then we make the best possible 40 minutes out of that to make a show that educates people on entrepreneurship and how to do business.
That's so great. From 2 people at that NUS talk, now you have a national TV show that people are watching, and it's interesting for them.
And mashallah, I mean, the followership is huge, and I feel that when I go into those circles now. So it's a lot of youth watching, a lot of women watching. I will talk about the show, but let me add to what Madiha was saying. And I know I must appreciate and commend this, because it's one of my personal things that I have always. The reason I got to do that show, and my goal was that I will promote women entrepreneurs, and there was a reason for it, because our country is about 49.6% women. And if you look at the statistics in workforce, it's very low.
Yes, this is crucial.
This is crucial.
Women in the workforce who sort of recognized workforce.
Recognized workforce.
Yes.
Labor that is recognized and paid, like remunerated labor.
So let me just take it to that point where I would shamelessly say that a nation cannot progress if it is not producing women leaders. I am not talking about just employees. Yes, I have seen startups, and I run an IT company myself, which has a relatively large number of employees in Pakistan and outside of Pakistan. That's my main bread and butter. But I see women stopping at a certain scale and not dreaming big enough, not wanting something bigger than that, and that annoys me a lot. In entrepreneurship, what I try and promote, and it's heartening to see that on my show, women have raised as high as money as high as 3 crores in Pakistani rupees, 4 crore rupees for 20% equity, and these are all women founders. So one of my main goals is to bring in women founders, and because this whole stint of entrepreneurship, and I'm sure if you'll ask her and your other guest also, this helps them bring the leader out of them. They become better mothers, they become better partners, better daughters, better citizens, because they're so strong. Their self-esteem increases. They control decisions. They drive things. I see it with the woman in my own house who's my inspiration. Is taking care of 2 kids, running 2 businesses. I mean, she makes more money than I do.
Good for her.
So, and similarly, if I go back to the times when I was growing up, my biggest inspiration was my grandmother, a very strong woman. So nations are built with strong women, with strong purpose, sense of purpose. And that can't happen if they don't get this kind of support they need from their friends and family and from their circles. So,
and other than friends and family, it's really a structural problem. Women in the workforce facing the glass ceiling, and this is a global phenomenon, that there is a certain point beyond which it's really difficult for women to succeed in the same way that men do. And a large part of that, and Madiha, you are a female entrepreneur, and I'm sure you've encountered this, is that sort of domestic obligations can be pretty intense. And not only that, but peers in your what is the word, career, or just your work environment. And there's a great deal there's a great deal of prejudice when it comes to women in the workplace. And other people are quite disruptive of that process. And you are sort of exposed to two different spheres of influence.
Well, let me also say that...
so how has it been?
Okay, so let me say one thing. A woman does need a support system if she's going to go out there and follow her dream. If she's going to own a business, be a founder, be a leader, then she does need a support system.
Of course, as anybody else would.
Yeah.
But women perhaps a little bit more?
Yes. The thing is that a woman, even if she's working 2 jobs, owns like 10 businesses, at the end of the day, she has to come home and care for her kids. Because that is primarily, known to be her role in the family. But also, having said that, a lot of men are changing their attitudes now. So they're these champions of change, they're called. They do not feel shame or anything, okay, this is not my job and I'm not going to do this. So raising children has also become a shared kind of job, right? So in our generation and further beyond us, things are improving. But the thing is that a woman, of course, needs facilitation from the home. She needs it. Otherwise, it's impossible for a mother to, abandon her kids and go and live up her dream, because she will constantly be guilted into the fact that she's not a good enough mother, which is a very sad situation. It shouldn't be like that.
Quite right. And even if you're not a mother, even if you are just a woman,
yes,
there's still a lot of structural things that it's doubly hard.
People believe that you can either follow a dream or own a business or be a working woman or have a successful personal life, if you want to call it that.
There seems to be like this binary where you can either have a really successful career or you can be a successful homemaker. But sort of being able to strike that balance, there's still quite a ways to go.
It is a struggle.
It is a struggle. It's a very valid, I agree with almost everything you said there, but I have rather harsh opinions when it comes to a woman trying to struggle. The word struggle in itself is such unfortunate.
It's kind of sad
to say this, because the men who don't let these women succeed in workplaces, for example, I'm just taking a hypothetical example, not hitting at anybody.
Of course not, no.
They must remember that they too have women in their houses. If you're making an environment uncomfortable for women around you, somebody else will do the same with women who matter to you. So it's a very reciprocative process. But this is something that's shameful for those men who are making it difficult. So there is there's no sympathy here. It has to be put out there clear cut that if there's a woman who wants to do big things, and let me tell you, the colleagues I've worked with, the women who worked in my teams are the smartest I've seen. They can multitask better. They're more confident. They have big dreams. And yes, they need a support system, but why can't we as workplaces do that for them?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
And even things like, you think there would be small things, but things like maternity leave. Things like daycare in the workplace. And there is legislation that is being developed for this. But like you said, if we have these structural changes in place, then the workplaces will be healthier environments for women. And like you said earlier, if the priority is the brand and the priority is the company and businesses that do fantastically well are the ones who put the business first, then I imagine that includes valuing every member of your workforce, male or female.
Despite gender.
Yes, male or female. It's just valuing your employees. And on this extremely heartening note, we're going to take a quick break and we'll see you in a minute. Bye. Hi, welcome back to the coffee table. We're talking entrepreneurship and making it big in the world and making your mark on the world as a founder. All sorts of cool, amazing things. So tell me, Nabeel, you've got offices around the world now with your IT company. And you've been in this field for how long now?
Well, in the technology field for about 15 years.
That's a long time.
And the entrepreneurship ecosystem for about 7-8 years. And ever since it began.
So you have handle on these things.
Yes.
So what is the way forward now? Because we have fostered now an environment where young people, or people with ideas, not necessarily young, let's not be ageist, have ideas and they want to take them forward, and they know now that it's possible to do this.
Yeah, they know now, and they dream to be the entrepreneurs. They've seen real people doing it in Pakistan.
Such as yourself.
And going back to the show that I've done, I've had the good fortune of speaking to entrepreneurs of both gender from all 4 provinces and even Kashmir. And in that process, I've also traveled to about 70 to 80 cities across Pakistan. So I've understood what a common man requires. And we, by the way, are a very entrepreneurial nation.
Okay.
There's this word that we use in Urdu called jugaad. We're really good at it. Yeah. So, and if you go to Hall Road or Beaton Road, you see the best possible technology happening in the lowest possible cost.
Yeah.
And imagine formalizing that. Yeah. So here's the thing that I'd like to suggest through the platform of your show. While there is an ecosystem now, there is demand, there is supply, there needs to be more curation. And the curation has to be done by the government. So there are three to 4 things that I'd like to suggest to any ministers watching your show.
Let's hope there are many watching the show.
Or even the Prime Minister, if he's watching the show.
Wow, that's the kind of viewership everybody needs.
Yeah, so
we'll try to get it to him.
So here are some things that need to be done by the government. So there needs to be...
But why the government? Because they're the ones with that kind of power and...
power, the influence, the ability to facilitate, and the fact that they control the banks. I'll tell you how. Because, there's something called preference shares.
Okay.
And there's something called convertible notes. All the entrepreneurs watching me right now, they know what they are. They're not legally existing something that's tangible in the state bank. So if a country has no concept of shares, preference shares or convertible notes, it's very hard for entrepreneurs to raise money. I can explain this later, but this might get very boring.
Yeah, it might. Maths.
Number 2, the ease of doing business in Pakistan is very difficult, especially for an entrepreneur to incorporate a company. Already they don't have a lot of money.
Or even just to get to the point where they can even consider incorporation.
It's very hard. So that's where the government needs to make it easy. Number 3, the investor, because I've run an investment show, the only show that exists in Pakistan for 2 years, the investor wants to see if his or her risk can be hedged, can be reduced. Yeah. So there needs to be some kind of a tax advantages given to an investor who's investing in her or me, for that matter, if I'm an entrepreneur. Yeah. Because they compare an investment in you or me or an entrepreneur to an investment in real estate and defense. How about I just buy a property? It's a sure shot hit. Right. Why should I risk myself with this kid? Yeah. So there has to be some hedging technique where tax advantages and all those things.
So you can incentivize people to invest. Yeah. And Madiha, as somebody who's been running a small business now for several years, what are the hurdles that you have faced? Do you think that the environment is sort of conducive to do business in, as like somebody on the ground who's doing it?
I, as a person, I'm not very ambitious as to, going and getting an investor and doing all these things. I personally did not really try that hard. Yeah. But I kind of just put my own money in my cycle and kept growing at a slower pace than I would have if I had an investor, right? Yes. So in my opinion, of course there are hurdles, and most of them are financial, and you need resources or you need a place, like he said. So there are hurdles, of course, which can be overcome with somebody, an investor who kind of trusts you and puts his money in your business.
And somehow if the government were to take sort of an initiative like this, it would be kind of comforting to know that it's coming from a place where there's hopefully a structure and a framework.
A structure, and also
it's a formalized
maybe they
process.
could, incorporate policies that kind of help these people, even the investor and the entrepreneur, and make this whole transaction safe for both of them.
So all of this is a part of policy. Exactly that. You've summed it up. Yeah. But the last thing that's very important for someone like you or an entrepreneur who's doing a business that's unique, it's intellectual property. Okay. Investors, if you want money to come into Pakistan, And if you want people to invest in Pakistani companies and Pakistani people, the first thing Agora would ask is, how secure is my money? How secure is your idea?
And it's quite tricky because
Yes.
we are, it's a volatile
It is a volatile
area,
situation.
a volatile, exactly. And you know, you
These
do
days.
show abroad and you've had shows abroad.
Yeah.
And do you feel like, like people are interested, but they're also a bit like...
Yeah, they're apprehensive with Pakistan. Yeah.
They're
Because
apprehensive,
we have that
but-
reputation.
So it's conditional. They say you register your company in the US and we'll invest in you. So something of that of that sort, but that does not directly help Pakistan then. So
You're talking about international registration. People don't even know how to register in Pakistan. So there's
No, I
lack
was
of
saying the
awareness
same
as
thing.
well
Yeah.
for people who are starting up. And suddenly, you know, when I got my first corporate order, it was for like, you know, 250 pairs of cufflinks, and you know, I was lucky enough that my mother was already in the business. My brand was made a part of her business, and I inherited her credit history, and I had you know, an NT and a registration number and a whatever, all this
all your
technical
tax
documents.
stuff and all the
So
things were
that was
sorted
the
out.
reason I was able to go on that multinationals, you know, approved vendor list, because
Right.
that's also like a whole process. You start in your own country first, right? And there's so many opportunities. There are multinationals, you know, they're corporate clients and all of that. So for me, it was easier because I had a background. But I know so many people who have shows with me. They've exhibited with me on different platforms, like, you know, arts and crafts people that have nothing. And, you know, sometimes when I pitch their products, because I want to promote Pakistan, so I'm promoting, you know, my neighbor's product to like a multinational, and then they're like, you know, we don't have any documentation, so can you sell for us? You know, these are the problems that they face. And craftsmen, though, you need to forget about the craftsmen, because nobody's promoting the craftsmen.
Yes. And
Right?
what kind of craftsmen?
All kinds.
All kinds.
Like wood, like carpet industry, like, you know, my jewelry industry, anything. If you even talk about these people who do embroideries on wedding outfits, like
Yes,
how many times do you promote your craftsmen? Even if I want to promote them, then they're also shy of this promotion, because, you know, they don't even know. So
And they're just not sort of confident about that skill. And again, like Nabeel said, there's no awareness about it either.
So even craftsman is another whole ball game.
Yeah.
But the entrepreneur also does not know which approach to take, how to get there, how to, you know, be facilitated in all these technical things.
So there's so many questions.
Yeah.
And hopefully...
I still have like a billion questions, but also the fact that I have a day job where I work and it's a proper organization kind of helps me incorporate those things into my small business.
Oh, yeah. So you learn from one thing and then you can sort of plug it into another. And also you sort of hedged your own risk.
Yeah.
You do have a day job.
I do have a day job. I have been trained on like risk analysis and stuff.
Excellent.
So,
But there's still so many questions, and hopefully the sort of all of these incubators that exist and all of these working spaces that are sort of just more accessible now. And you know, the internet as well.
Yes.
Huzzah for the internet. And you can just do so much through that. Your reach is...
Another reason why entrepreneurship is becoming easier is like social media marketing and how you portray your brand and you sell your brand. You yourself sell your brand. So a lot of times...
you also have sort of control over content and how to do it. And like you said, you don't have to register for anything. You don't have to, you know, do file paperwork. You can just go ahead and
But eventually, if you don't, then you can't grow.
Yeah.
You know, you have to take the next step.
And then that's where the incubators come in.
They come in.
And that's where the startup show comes in.
So it's easy to just make a page and start, but then, you know, the next step.
But then you have to sort of immerse yourself in that formalized kind of framework.
It's a mindset. Entrepreneurship is a mindset.
So we're going to leave you with those wise words. Entrepreneurship is a mindset. You know what? I think it's a very quotable quote. Thank you so much for being on the show, Nabeel. Thank you, Madiha. This was very informative.
Lovely to be here.
I'm really sort of inspired now. It's like, what can I sell? Thank you all for watching. I'm sure that you guys have learned so much from this. You know where to go if you need help and mentorship. And we will see you next time. If you are watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you again on the coffee table. Bye now.